Welcome to the Fireplace, a warm and welcoming space where we discuss all things cultural diversity and multiculturalism. In this episode, I'm sitting with Dane Moores, the campaign director for Activate Australia Skills. Welcome, Dane.
Thanks, Edward. Thanks for having me.
Activate Australia Skills is a campaign launched by Settlement Services International, SSI, and the mission is to make sure that the skill recognition system within Australia recognizes skills acquired by migrants elsewhere and make the process fairer, faster, and equitable for everyone.
That is spot on. At the moment, our skills recognition system, everyone knows the challenges with it. It creates so many barriers that are actually unrelated to people's skills. Excessive fees, slow, complicated processes, very little accountability and transparency in the system. And we want to change that. That's what the campaign's about, really activating the tremendous skills already in Australia to help fill skills shortages and to enable people to work at their full potential. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Now, the campaign recently launched a report on how Australia is missing out on billions in terms of economic activities due to underutilization of skills that migrants possess. Can you talk us through the findings and the practical differences it would make if Australia better utilized these skills?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have really a crazy situation in Australia right now, where, on the one hand, we have skills shortages in basically every industry.
Yeah.
So 1 in 3 occupations have worker shortages. Industry after industry just has these skills gaps.
Right.
And at the same time, we've got the skills crisis. We have hundreds of thousands of highly qualified, highly skilled refugees and migrants in this country who could be filling those skills shortages, but are being blocked from doing so and are working below their skill level right now. So we looked into this, it's crunched the numbers, and almost half, or 44%, of permanent migrants work below the level of skill and qualification. And if they worked at their skill level at the same rate as people born in Australia, it would have a tremendous economic impact. $9 billion added to Australia's economy each and every year.
Wow.
50,000 jobs would be created. Productivity would improve at the industry level. And we know, this isn't conceptual. It's real, tangible benefits Australia could realize if we harnessed, that full diversity of talent. And even if you look at the level below that, so we looked at specific professions and found that there are 253,000 permanent migrants in Australia right now who could be working in these licensed, accredited professions like teaching, engineering, but are not. And that's because of the skills recognition system.
Right.
And to just make it practical, what we're talking about here is 47,000 engineers who could be helping build the infrastructure we desperately need, but are not. We're talking about 20,000 migrant teachers who could be, reducing class sizes and educating the next generation.
True.
We're talking about 16,000 nurses who, if they worked as nurses, our hospitals would be able to treat an additional 22,000 people.
Wow.
These are, huge impacts. 1,000 plumbers, 1,300 electricians who could accelerate housing in the middle of a housing crisis. 5,000 psychologists who, could shorten waiting lists for Australians seeking mental health support. All just very practical impacts that we could unleash if we reduce these unnecessary barriers. We've had the government talk a lot about productivity.
Yeah.
It's been the buzzword of the year. And if migrants could work in these licensed professions, for every migrant who works in their licensed profession, an additional $43,000 is generated each year in productivity. So, government's looking for solutions. Here's a ready-made one on the table with immediate productivity benefits.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge waste of resources.
Yeah, that's really put 2 and 2 together. We've got skills shortages, we've got people who can fill it. Let's reduce the barriers stopping them from doing the jobs we desperately need them to do.
Wow. thousands of people in the community have experienced the challenge with getting their overseas skills and qualifications recognized here in Australia. What would you say to them? What's one single important message you would want to put forward to them?
And firstly, I'd say, the system, it's broken. It's not working as it should. The skills and qualifications recognition system is meant to be there to ensure we have quality expertise serving our communities. And right now it's not doing that. It's in many cases needlessly blocking quality expertise. Yeah, it's a system that just creates these unnecessary barriers. And I'm talking about barriers that are totally unrelated to skill level, because a lot of the time people say, the skills recognition system is there and it's because of the high standards Australians expect, and that's true. But apart from those standards, this system just creates so many obstacles through excessive fees, slow, confusing processes, no due process, so you can't independently appeal the decision. There's often no accountability or transparency over the bodies conducting these recognition and licensing requirements. And so, you asked about the message to people grappling with these issues. I would say, we see you, we hear you, this is a huge problem. It might feel very personal, but it's a systemic problem. And your experience is why we are trying so hard to change this issue right now, and why we're, to be honest, quite close from achieving some real policy change.
Wow.
Yeah. And so just to give you an example, two key examples just quickly on how close we are. One, the Treasurer held a productivity summit called an Economic Reform Roundtable in August, just a couple of months ago. It had industry leaders, union leaders, government leaders. The number one issue of consensus on the first day was we need to reform skills recognition.
Wow.
And so it was among the top 10 reform outcomes. So the government's got a mandate to act. Secondly, the Home Affairs Minister, Tony Burke, last month spoke at the National Press Club and was asked by journalists about this issue. What is the government doing about the skills and qualifications recognition system? And he said publicly that the government's actively considering some really good ideas in this space, including, and he called out our campaign's proposal for an ombudsman or commissioner in Jobs and Skills Australia to oversee this system and make it more accountable and fair. So, we're not there yet, but there are some very promising signs, and that's why conversations like this are so timely right now, and why we need everyone to be not only talking about this issue, but doing something about it.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing, and I'm glad there's progress heading that direction. And as you said, we are close to getting it done. And those two commitments from government officials, I think that's a positive sign that something is in the offing.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's going to materialize quicker than later.
That's why we're building this campaign, really accelerating it, because this is an issue that's been around for a long time, but we're closer than ever, I would say, to seeing change on it. So now's the time to really rally behind that, and there'll be a call to action for your listeners as well.
Right, just right on there, are you able to share a story that really moved you about an immigrant with exceptional skills, but they would not be able to translate those into employment, like someone whose skills were sidelined but could have transformed the community or be part and parcel of the transformation in a particular industry?
Yeah, so many stories.
Right.
Like 253,000 stories. But in one in particular, I actually just spoke to this gentleman yesterday. His name's Antonio. He's a highly specialized physiotherapist from Chile. Before he came to Australia, he worked in Chile's leading hospital in trauma recovery, treated, I think, over 20,000 patients. So a real highly qualified professional at the cutting edge of his field. And he went into physiotherapy because he wanted to help people, and came to Australia thinking, I'd be able to help even more people here, to help them recover from trauma. But the reality was that he, very early on, found himself working in construction-related roles, cleaning, And what he would hear, which is why the story jumps out to me so much, is he would hear other people on the construction site just talk about how much they needed to see a physiotherapist, and that they had to wait months to address the significant back issue. And he was right there, just meters away, unable to practice the field he has trained in, his career, unable to practice that in Australia. So he did start, well, he's still actually going through the process with the physiotherapy board to get his skills and qualifications recognised 7 years later. So he's 7 years into the process, done multiple exams, so much paperwork, still going through the process, which is just testament to the incredible perseverance in the face of these obstacles. And just one quick thing about this process is to give you a sense of sometimes the needless requirements that are in it. He has an exam to sit, and the only place that they only offer it like once a year, and the only place is in Melbourne, regardless of where you are in the country.
Oh dear.
So he's able to, yes, travel, but a lot of people, imagine being in Cairns or Perth, for a lot of people this is just a barrier that's too much, and it's not at all related to the quality of their skills or experience. And so there's just needless barriers that we need to address and remove. So people can continue their careers that they've trained in. And as we spoke about the figures earlier, this would benefit everyone. Everyone benefits when people are able to work at their full potential.
Very true. Wow, that's really touching, moving, and really sad. It's spending the whole 7 years not being able to utilize your skills. You give up hope, but it can also have a mental impact on you as a person.
Yeah, so he's still determined to contribute in his field. So even though he can't practice in it, he's in research at the moment. And again, it just shows, when people have so much to give and are so passionate about something, let's just make the process straightforward for them to be able to contribute.
Wow, great. I also noticed that the campaign has put forward a blueprint with 4 key reform strategies or areas that want to be very keenly looked into for a fix. If you take us through them, which of these do you believe would have the greatest impact?
Yeah, so we've put forward 4 very practical, proven solutions to the Australian government to implement. We're calling on the Australian government to show national leadership on this issue and take responsibility for it. And these ideas aren't picked out of nowhere. So what we did is we looked at international best practice. What are other countries doing? Because to be honest, a lot of countries, comparable countries like Canada, Germany, Sweden, the UK, they've made changes over recent years. Some quick examples. In Canada, they've established fairness commissioners at the provincial level. So in British Columbia, Ontario, Manitoba, to provide oversight of the skills recognition bodies. To make sure it's fair, to make sure they're meeting the needs of industries and the population. And just by adding that extra piece of accountability, recognition rates of qualifications almost doubled in some of these provinces.
Wow.
So it shows you when you get the incentives right, there can be positive flow-on effects, positive outcomes.
The ripple effect.
And in Germany, I'd say they've gone even further in some instances. So they have a Recognition Act, which mandates that for most professions, recognition has to take place within 2 to 4 months.
Wow.
And beyond that, they have 60 recognition advice centres across the country that actually provide the guidance. So migrants can actually go for in-person support to work out which body they need to apply to, what the process looks like, how much it costs, and get that tailored guidance through the exam process, the next piece of paperwork, so people can get into their profession as soon as possible. And one more thing they have is a national portal. I think it's Anerkennung in Deutschland, and I don't speak German, but it's this really user-friendly one-stop shop where you put in your qualification, what state you're in, and it gives you step-by-step guidance in multiple languages about what you need to do specifically to get recognized in your field. And right now there's no single source of information like that in Australia.
Wow.
So back to our solutions. So we looked at what works overseas, and we're advocating now for 4 key solutions. One, to have national oversight of the skills and qualifications recognition system.
Right.
It doesn't exist at the moment. What we need is a body that's responsible for it and looks over it end to end and makes sure that it's fair, effective, efficient, and to really create the right incentives, like in Canada, from the Fairness Commissioner model, create the right incentives for this system to work as it should, to get quality expertise serving our communities and to address the bottlenecks that stop that from happening.
Right.
That's number one. And I'd say that reform would be transformative. It would create the essentially good governance that would flow throughout every profession to reduce unnecessary barriers to recognition.
Right.
Secondly, we're calling for a better connection or better joined up system between migration and employment. Because right now, especially if you come on a skilled migration visa, you need to do an assessment for your particular profession for migration purposes. But that doesn't link to anything for employment purposes. There's a sort of separate system in Australia for licensing and recognition in certain professions. And often migrants aren't even told that. So come to Australia thinking they've already received the recognition, and then work out over time, they have to go through a completely different process. So we need a more joined up system, a more connected system. Third solution is to reduce the big barriers, so the economic barriers and the information barriers facing migrants. So we're calling for financial support.
Right.
People should not be held back from being recognized because of a fee for an exam. The government should step in and provide financial support for those who need it. Secondly, we need a single source of information. This is where the portal in Germany is so effective. We need an online portal in Australia with all the information people need to get their skills and qualifications recognised. And then lastly, we're calling for career gateway hubs or migrant employment hubs to be set up across the country with recognition navigators to guide people through this process and into their profession. So like the Germany's recognition advice model. And these hubs would have broad eligibility. So people who are in the workforce but working below their skill level can get support to get into their profession. Because at the moment, a lot of employment services in this country are limited to people who are unemployed rather than underutilized.
Right.
And this employment service, these hubs, would be able to support the doctors driving rideshare, the dentists stacking shelves, the nurses doing cleaning roles, to get back into those professions that we know they want to continue their careers in.
Yeah.
So they're 4 very practical things the government can do right now to address this issue and unleash the potential that we know is being wasted at the moment.
Wow. That's amazing, and that sounds really practical and doable. And I don't think I can point out to any other solution other than what the campaign is proposing to government.
Yeah, they're proven solutions, and that's the key here. Like evidence proves and backs up
best
this
practices.
Works, and other countries have shown us you can do it. So now it's Australia's turn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an issue that's been around for so long.
Yeah.
But with the level of support right now, with the very practical solutions. I'm confident we can, but now is the moment.
Right. Now, talking about the Australian skill recognition system, I think this issue has been around for far too long, decades, so to speak. Why has it taken this long to fix, and why are you optimistic that this is the right time to get this done?
Yeah, absolutely. This issue has been around for decades, as you say. Everyone I talk to knows it's an issue. It's just been like this elephant in the room, but often in the too hard basket.
Yeah.
And why it's been in the too hard basket is because no one was responsible for this system, and therefore no one sees it as their responsibility to fix it. It's sort of sat in this weird void between the migration system and the employment, between states and territories and the Commonwealth, between different ministers, which no one's really taken ownership to do something about it.
Right.
And that's why
That's
we're
true.
calling for the Ombudsman
Yeah.
or the Commissioner to be that point of accountability, to be that entity responsible for the system and responsible for ensuring it works as it should. So I'd say that's the key challenge, and why we're leading with that recommendation to have national governance of this system. Am I optimistic? Yes. Yeah. Despite the complexity, despite the longevity of this problem, I am optimistic, and I'm optimistic because of three key reasons, I think. One, we've never had so much support to reform this system. So just on the Activate Australia Skills campaign alone, we have over 130 organisations calling for this.
Wow.
And yeah, there's a lot of multicultural organisations, but we're not alone anymore in advocating for this. Unions are backing it, like the ACTU. Businesses are backing it, like Allianz Australia. Peak bodies, industry bodies like Master Builders Australia and the Property Council. These are big players seeing that, and they're all grappling with skills shortages, and they see this as a really practical way to address that. So yeah, I'd say one, we've never had as much support. That's why I'm optimistic. Number two is the environment right now of skills shortages. It just means it's more important than ever to harness every skilled worker. And the focus on productivity.
Yeah.
Government, we've got a ready-made productivity solution. So I'd say the level of support, the timing, and then the third reason is the government is genuinely open
Wow.
to reform.
At all state, federal, and local
Still
government.
conversations ongoing.
Right.
Yeah, so we are talking with at the state level, at the federal level. As I said, the Home Affairs Minister recently at the Press Club publicly said that they're actively looking into this. And as on behalf of the campaign, we're engaging with a range of departments: Treasury, Department of Employment and Workplace Relations, Jobs and Skills Australia, Home Affairs. There's a lot of traction, and conversations aren't anymore about do we need to reform this system. The conversations are how do we do it, and that's
Wow.
it's very positive. But it's positive, but we're not there yet. We need to translate that openness and that goodwill into action, and that's why it's so important to really double down on the advocacy right now. And why it's important to have these conversations and get even more organizations on board so we can push this just that little bit further and get the actual commitment to change.
Great. There's a lot of progress and a lot of momentum. How do you expect the everyday Australian to help in advancing this campaign? And what are you hoping for as the outcome by the end of the day?
Yeah, I love that question. It's the call to action. So we would love for all of your listeners to take specific actions in support of this movement. So a couple of things everyone can do. Number one, join the movement, really, and you can do that in multiple ways. So you can sign up our joint letter to the Australian Parliament. If you go onto the campaign website, activateaustralia.org.au, there's a joint letter there, sign it, get behind it. We've got over 500 signatures at the moment, but really want to get over 1,000. Every signature just adds that case for change. The second key action in joining the campaign is for organisations to officially join. So as I said, we have over 130 organisations from across sectors. And the more that join, the greater collective power we have and the more traction we can then have with government. And joining is quite straightforward. Just ask that you endorse the 4 calls for reform.
Right.
And add your logo to our campaign website. So you can reach out at info@activateaustralia.org.au and express your interest in joining. Happy to brief you further, but we more than welcome all the other organisations out there to join the campaign. Number 2, so that was join the campaign, the first action. Number 2 is to share your story. So if you've experienced this issue firsthand, the challenges with the skills and qualifications recognition system, on our website there is a share your story form, and it's incredibly powerful. The stories of the system are really what's wrong with it is what brings it to life. And when we talk to ministers, when we talk to department executives, that's actually what sticks with them. We tell them the stats, but when we next meet with them, they always reflect on the personal experiences, which show in some cases these ridiculous barriers. So if you have experience of these confusing processes, how expensive it is, the barriers that you've faced, please share those. It's incredibly powerful. Each story tells the government why we need to do something about this issue.
True.
And then lastly is to speak to your local MP. Go meet with them. Meet with your federal member, your state member, encourage them to write to the treasurers of their states or of the Commonwealth to say why this issue matters for people in their electorate. That grassroots movement is incredibly powerful, and that's often how any significant social change happens.
Wow.
So if you could join the campaign, if you have first-hand experience of this challenge, share your story and speak to your MP. If we do those things, I'm confident we'll see some change on this issue over the coming months.
Wow. There you have it. What a campaign. And I'd also add my word. To join the campaign, see your local MP or elected official. Tell your story. There's nothing that can beat storytelling in advancing an agenda. Visit the website activateaustralia.org.au. Download the form, join the campaign, and most importantly, spread the word. Until next episode, thank you.